some members of the amaZulu royal house are seeking a court interdict to prevent MisuZulu Zulu from speaking as king at the event commemorating the Battle of Isandlwana. A decision from the Pietermaritzburg High Court is expected within this hour. The event commemorates the nation's 1879 defeat of the British Army and will take place for the first time since the passing of King Goodwill Zwelithini kaBhekuzulu. The celebrations also come at a time where Amabutho, who play a central role in the celebrations, are without a leader. The ceremony will take place at the Nquthu battlefields. Now, the address by King Misuzulu Zulu will be the first, or his first rather, since the court battle contesting his succession to the throne. All right, so Ziyanda Ngcobo is our senior reporter on the ground watching these developments as they unfold. She joins us now live from Nquthu. And Ziyanda, of course, the anticipation is mounting because we're expecting the outcome of this court battle within this hour as preparations unfold for this historic commemoration.
Absolutely. Preparations are continuing as normal, and plans are afoot to begin the program at 10 o'clock as initially planned. We're still waiting for the outcomes of that urgent court bid by some members of the royal family who are basically saying that Prince MisuZulu Zulu or King Misuzulu Zwelithini, depending on whose authority or who you're taking instruction from, is not mandated to address this gathering as the king of the amaZulu nation because he hasn't been coronated and the issue of the succession to the throne has not yet concluded. But you'll recall, Ayanda, during those court proceedings that part of the arguments brought by MisuZulu and amaZulu traditional Prime Minister Prince MisuZulu were that in fact the royal household has actually concluded this matter. They've already made a pronouncement on who the next king should be, and that the Western court system and the processes thereof have got nothing to do with the structure of the Royal Council, which is the one that traditionally so is mandated to elect who the next king should be. So the lawyers of King Misuzulu Zwelithini have advised them to continue with the preparations as planned this morning, and some have already said that what's taking place in court this morning is now rendered an academic exercise, because in fact that bid to halt the king from speaking was launched yesterday but could only be heard this morning by the judge presiding over the matter. And so we understand that the lawyers are still battling it out at the Pietermaritzburg High Court, but it would seem that judging from those that I've spoken to who've been, overseeing the preparations for this event, that they're not planning to stop, regardless of what the outcomes are of that particular court bid.
It's astounding, Ziyanda, if you think about it, isn't it? Especially because of the time we have to try to figure out what happens next. We'd have to have the court judgment in our hand to make that call. But from your vantage point, the sense I'm certainly getting is no matter what the court says today, the program will go ahead and MisuZulu Zulu is likely to speak.
Absolutely, and I mean the issue here, I think it goes back to what the conversation we had even when those court proceedings got underway, to say who's the ultimate authority over this matter of the succession to the throne and the issues related to the amaZulu nation. Those in the corner of the King Misuzulu Zwelithini are saying, well, in fact, he's already been chosen by the family, regardless of what then the will of the late Queen and Regent Mantfombi Dlamini Zulu had to say. And this was part of the arguments by Advocate Griffiths Madonsela in court to say this has got nothing to do with the succession, questioning the validity of the will of the late King Goodwill Zwelithini kaBhekuzulu has got nothing to do with the will of the late regent and the installation of MisuZulu as king of the amaZulu nation, because even in those arguments he was saying that there's no divisions within the family. There's just a few mischievous individuals who are causing trouble and creating confusion about what actually needs to take place, but also maintaining that custom dictates that it should be MisuZulu who was sent to the throne. So in that aspect then, there's no debate or contestation as to who's the rightful person to be addressing this commemoration here today. However, as you know, this matter is now before the courts, and I must say, Ayanda, even with other court matters that have to do with royal households, the courts in general, Ayanda, are quite hesitant to enter into the fray. They've always, if you read past judgment, they've always rather deferred to structures of those traditional and royal households because of what may be seen as a conflict, I should say, between the laws of the traditional laws and that of common law, which we find within our Western courts. And so ultimately this is what it boils down to, Ayanda.
Ziyanda, very quickly, the last time there was kind of a mass gathering in the midst of this kind of contestation, it was, I think, at Kwakhangela Makengane, where things actually turned violent, dare I say. You almost got a sense that there was a threat to people's lives. What sense are you getting at Nquthu today? Is there that kind of, if you like, tension as we wait to hear what the court has to say?
Not at all, and I mean, at this stage, not many people have even arrived for this particular event. It's just those who are meant to be here. The service providers, of course, are ensuring that everything is set. I do anticipate that the program will get underway a little later than anticipated, but so far no tensions. But of course we know that Amabutho are going to be arriving, and this is the first time that they'll be really in a mass gathering without their leader, the head of the regiments, the late Zihoko Ntlego, otherwise known as Mgilija. And so whilst there is some debate about the divisions thereof, because they too have somewhat also been impacted by the divisions within the royal household, because they too also feel some type of way, if I could put it that way, about who should actually be or who is the rightful heir to the throne, remembering of course that Amabutho are the blanket of the amaZulu nation and go wherever the king goes. And so we're also expecting them here, but if we do get to hear King Misuzulu Zwelithini speak, it will be the first time that he speaks since that court battle. We're also likely to hear from the traditional Prime Minister, Prince MisuZulu, who is not someone who usually shies away from difficult discussions. If you even go back as far as 2018, when the issues around the Ingonyama Trust land, became a topical issue, he spoke out against that, using platforms such as the one as today to really voice his discontent with some of what has been happening. So we're anticipating that there will be something that is said about the state of the amaZulu nation as they commemorate 143 years since the Battle of Isandlwana.
Ziyanda Ngcobo is our senior reporter live to us there from Nquthu in KZN. Ziyanda, thanks very much indeed.